Afternoon. Yes.
Nearly forgot my name then, didn't you, Alan?
Indeed, yeah.
Didn't you, Bruce? It's good to see you, mate.
That would be very embarrassing.
It's fine.
Yeah. Now, we've had you in before, Andy, but since we saw you last, you've moved to a new parish.
Well, I've moved to a new ministry job, same parish, still in Rockingham, still with a vision to reach the next generation with the gospel of Christ. But I'm now at Warnborough Community Church, was previously leading the Anglican Church here in Rockingham, and for a number of things, for another conversation, we've moved was invited to lead Warnborough Community Church down by Aqua Jetty, we're down there.
Very strong church there at Warnborough.
Great, yeah, it's a very big and strong church. You'll know it's you live just around the corner from there, don't you? So
pretty much, yeah. I've been over to the community church for a couple of Christmas Eve services and different things.
Yeah, they did big on Christmas, big on Easter as well. There is a tradition of doing an Easter walk, which is an interactive walk through the story of the cross. And we went last year. That was probably one of the first times we went to the church, and it's just a great community event. Lots of people go, and it's well known for that.
Yeah, and somehow I got on your email list, your church email list, and got an invitation to your 55 plus group for lunch last month. And my wife and I went along and had a great time with your group. And I suggested that they might go along to Little Hanoi Vietnamese restaurant to actually sponsor this program.
And there you go. They were just talking about that, actually. So, that's on the foreshore, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
So in the month of August, we're all going to pay them a visit.
Oh, I'll have to see if I can come along to that.
Absolutely. It's a great meal.
We've been there a few times. It's good. It's very good. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. And you're here to give us a word or a...
Yeah, sure. I thought, I've been at Warnborough now for about 6 or 7 weeks, and we've been working our way through Paul's letter to the Ephesian church, and Ephesus was this... one of the first churches in what is now modern-day Turkey. Don't go there. If you try and go on a holiday there, it's just ruins. There's nothing there. There used to be a harbour, which is all silted up, and but at the time it was the epicenter for trade and for spirituality. It was a very spiritual place. At the center of the city was the Temple of Artemis, who was the Greek goddess. Her temple was one of the wonders of the ancient world, and people went to Ephesus to seek the favor of Artemis. So if you wanted to get ahead in business or get ahead in life, you went and you sought the favor of Artemis, this goddess. And on the back of that kind of spiritual trade, there was also a big trade in spells in Ephesus, which is, I've been doing some reading. So the I Love New York t-shirt of Ephesus was a spell. So if you ran a radio station and you wanted to put your competitor's radio station out of business, you went to Ephesus and you bought a spell to do that. If you wanted to fall in love, you wanted someone to fall in love with you, you went and bought a love spell. And so this letter to the Ephesians is written to the Christians that came to know Jesus in that context, in that kind of pagan, magic, spiritual culture, who were really very unimpressive. They probably met in a home church, probably in the shadow of the Temple of Artemis. They had no temple. They met and they worshipped a crucified carpenter. They sang to their invisible friend, and I imagine the city thought it was madness what these people were doing, that they'd ditched Artemis, they ditched the spell culture, and they were worshipping this crucified carpenter, much the same as what Rockingham probably thinks we do on a Sunday morning. That it's craziness that we go to the building next to Aqua Jetty, we sing to our invisible friend, and we worship a crucified carpenter. And so I thought we've been working our way through this book of Ephesians, and it's been brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. I've learned a lot of things that I didn't know before. And the big thing about Ephesians is it's writing, as I say, it's writing to these Christians, and they're really struggling with an inferiority complex. And the Apostle Paul, who met the risen Jesus, commissioned by the risen Jesus, writes to these Christians to tell them that despite this spiritual realm and this cosmic kind of realm that people were engaged in, he writes to them to tell them Jesus is more powerful, and that no matter what they think is, who they think is in control of life and control of their city, he writes to them to tell them that God is in control and that he has a plan. So the big verse of Ephesians is chapter 1, verse 10. And Paul says that God's got a plan for the fullness of time to unite all things under Jesus, things in heaven and things on earth. And so that's really what the letter is about. God's big plan for the universe and our world, for Rockingham, for Australia, for our world, that one day everyone's going to see Jesus and God's going to somehow unite all things under the kingship of Jesus. And so he writes this letter to the Ephesians and tells them that they are part of this plan, that they've been saved to trust Jesus by the grace and the sovereignty of God, that they've been brought from death to life, they've been brought from strangers and aliens to the promises of God. So the Old Testament's all about the Jewish people, and they were outside of the Jewish people, and they've been brought into these promises, and that God has got a plan, that Jesus is more powerful than anything else that the world throws at them. And so he writes to them to encourage them, even though they may feel like the losers of the city, even when they feel like everyone else is looking at them funny because they're going to their weird house church on a Sunday instead of the Artemis temple. And I wanted just to draw us, that's what we've been going through. And then we've been looking at how that shapes our marriages and our relationships in church and relationships at work for Christians. And so it's been interesting to call those that follow Jesus into the knowledge of God's plan and how that shapes the whole of our lives, but also to speak to friends and family that don't know Jesus and say, you might know a Christian and this is the reason they do crazy stuff. This is the reason that they go to church on a Sunday. This is the reason that they sing to their invisible friend, that they believe that Jesus is more powerful than anything in this world and that God is in control of it all. There is one verse that I just thought I would share with us this morning, which is chapter 1, verse 13, that talks in the context of this plan. It says to these Christians who think that their world has gone haywire, that they're doing things countercultural to everything around them. He says that God is the one who works all things according to the counsel of his will. That God is the one who works all things to the counsel of his will. That says that no matter what you think, who you think is in control of the world, who is the most powerful person in your life, God is actually more powerful and more in control than anything that you've got, and that he works through all things to achieve his purposes. That his plan's unstoppable, and it will take place. And I think that's enormously liberating, especially in our current climate when interest rates are going up and so are the worry levels and anxiety levels, to know that there is a God who is more powerful than the federal treasurer, who is more in control than our prime minister or our premier, that he's in control and he works through all things. That's enormously liberating. Of course, if you're a Christian and you're in Christ, then you know that God, and you trust the King that is the centerpiece of that plan. But if you don't know, if you're not a Christian, the invitation is open to trust him, to know him, to investigate him. And that's really what we try and do at Warnborough Community Church. We're very much a community, a Jesus community, where we expect people from our community at large to come investigate Jesus and try and provide a platform where people can ask the big questions about life and death, and ask the big questions about who Jesus is, why did he come, and what does he want from me, and do that in a way that's not weird and not religious, and is in a warm environment. And we also have hot chips for breakfast there. We serve 5 Senses coffee, best coffee in Australia, possibly the world. We serve 5 Senses coffee It's a
Dangerous there.
That is very good. We serve 5 cents of coffee, and we do hot chips for morning tea. So you can come along. A great cafe at Warnborough Church as well. So come along if anyone's thinking about.
The Red Door Community Church would say that they've probably got the best coffee.
Which is it? 5 cents.
What?
Is it 5 cents?
5 cents.
5 cents coffee roasted here in Rockingham, featured in some of the best cafes around the country, like some of the award-winning cafes serve 5 cents beans. Roasted here in Rockingham, the best there is.
Fantastic. Well, thanks very much, and I'll be catching up with your over 55s next week. Actually,
there you go.
They've got another.
What time is that? What time do they do that?
Thursday, 12 o'clock.
Thursday, 12 o'clock, and anyone over 55 can jump on the website, register, and come and find. You know, if you go to another church, you're welcome. You go to another church, you go to Red Door.
I go to the Red Door.
And so, but we want to have a posture of generosity and fellowship. So, anyone who goes to different churches is welcome to come along for a spot of lunch and a bit of company.
Yes, and if you come in the month of August, of course, you'll get to experience the little Hanoi Vietnamese restaurant.
Station sponsor. Station sponsor. Do you get free lunch because of that?
No, I don't, unfortunately.
There's no such thing as a free lunch in this life.
But Ben, who's the proprietor and the chef there, is a lovely bloke, and so people are welcome to go down there and have a chat with him. And,
we got some great places to eat in Rockingham, and some really wonderful business owners. I love like going to places around here. So thank you, Alan. Appreciate that.
Well, thanks very much for coming along, and we're going to close off now with a song. Actually, it's a gospel song. Elvis Presley and his daughter Lisa Marie, and it's called "Where No One Stands Alone."